Hey, how's it going, YouTube? It is Brownie from the Young Zings. Today I have a discussion video talking about Kozmo. I noticed that when I talk about Kozmo, there are some of my more popular videos that I've thrown up. The very first one I put up is my most popular video at the making of this one. I got another one that's 4 digits. I got others that are a couple hundred, which is actually I mean it's pretty cool, but it's a pretty hot topic. This deck kind of riles people up, so I'm going to try to, I'm going to talk about this deck in a very sophisticated, analytical fashion, so that way we can logically determine the two main questions of this video. The two main questions of the video are as follows. Number one, is Kozmo good this upcoming format post Breakers of Shadow? Secondly, and depends partially on the first question. Is Kozmo a good investment for post Breakers of Shadow? Okay. First question. Is Kozmo good? Let's start by going over the Breakers of Shadow support that they're getting. We know all of the themed cards that Kozmo will be getting for the Kozmo name in Breakers of Shadow. We actually know every single card in the set barring 4 cards. Okay, technically 5. The fifth card is the Steel Cavalry of Vietnam. We have no idea what its effect is, but I don't think it's really going to matter. The 4 cards are as follows. The generic trap, that's going to be number 81, and then there are 3 themed cards for a different archetype that are after Kozmo cards. There are 2 monsters and a spell. I assume those are Kaiju, okay? And unless Kaiju gets like Spellbook of Judgment level support, I'm not really going to take that into account. The only unknown at this point is the last card, which is the generic trap, number 81. We saw a painful decision from from Dimension to Chaos. That was actually sort of decent. It's very generic. It kind of, who knows, they might do something kind of nutty. But otherwise, we know everything, okay? So we can kind of talk with certainty about the deck's future given all the information we have. For starters, let's go over the 5 themed Kozmo cards. First one is Kozmo Dark Eclipser, and as I've said in the video where I talked about my initial reactions to these cards, Dark Eclipser is terrible for 2 reasons. One, he searches, he doesn't special summon. That's terrible, absolutely awful. I know with decks like Yang Zing, the fact that they all replace themselves is really annoying, but I know when they make a card like Boxia, who doesn't replace himself, I'm actually usually like relieved when they make him, even though he shuffles back a ton of my cards, I can kill him and he won't replace himself, which is huge. The fact that this card doesn't replace himself makes himself just not really that great. And he's the same stats as Dark Destroyer. Why don't you just summon Dark Destroyer? He's so much better. And he replaces himself. And he's like the same exact stats. Alright? He's higher defense, but I mean that's not really gonna matter. The effect where he can negate traps, it's niche. There aren't going to be that many traps that are going to be played that aren't counter traps, okay? Post Breakers of Shadow, it's going to be Solemn Notice and Solemn Warning, and that's really it, okay? Is there going to be like any trap across the board that's going to be played in every single deck that this card's going to be really that great against, okay? If it negated spells, okay, that'd be a lot better. It actually would have helped a great deal, but the fact that it doesn't makes this card kind of bad. Delta Shuttle, terrible. Not even going to talk about him. Kozmo Sword Trooper, it's bad. It's pretty bad. It doesn't see that much potential. I don't see that much potential for 2 reasons. One, it's kind of like Strawman because it summons a Kozmo from your grave, but Kozmo summons one from the bench, another card summons from the grave, which is fine. But it only summons psychic types. If this card summons the ships, it'd be a lot better, and you have to pay 1,000 life, which is kind of a lot. It's a level 3. It'd be better actually if it was a level 4 because you could summon off Farm Girl and you can make rank 4s with it. It's because you can make rank 4 plays with this card by summoning a Kozmo from the graveyard. But the fact that it's level 3 and it's just it only summons psychics, I don't really see the potential in this card. Some people are talking about this little combo with him. I don't know what this combo is, but I don't see it. And the fact that it says psychic just makes it not notable. The 2 Kozmo cards that I think that are actually decent in Breakers of Shadow are Cosmojo and Kozmo Tin Can. Okay, Cosmojo is good because I've said this on multiple occasions. I said that what Kozmo needs to remain competitive post Breakers of Shadow is a stun aspect. Dark Eclipser was a good attempt. Okay, if it said spell cards, it would have been a fantastic stun card. Okay, it would have been exactly what they needed. They did not get what they needed. Cosmojo is the best stun card that they're getting in this set. Okay, it banishes any card on the field without targeting for a cost that is not really a cost. It's you just have to be able to target a Kozmo on your field and kill it. So target one of your ships, kill it, and then it'll replace itself. But you can also banish one of their cards without targeting. This is the support that they really needed. They really needed a ship that could do like a walking infinity or walking vortex, like Dark Eclipser, but not just traps. He should have been across the board. If it was just spells, it would have been better. Cosmojo is a step in the right direction, but it's a trap, so it's kind of slow. I don't know. The fact that it banishes helps and it doesn't target, but I don't know. And the most notable actually is Cosmo Tin Can. I think Kozmo Tin Can is actually pretty solid. Not only does he make the deck more consistent by searching any card in the deck, even though you just pick 3 different names, the fact that it sends them to the graveyard makes it actually pretty good because it opens the deck to a wide variety of cards that use and abuse the graveyard. The most example off the top of my head is Call of the Haunted. I think Call of Hunting back a ship is so nuts. So unbelievably nuts. Why do you think they were playing that one trap card that summoned a banished Dark Destroyer from the Banish Zone? But like it was niche because it had no utility otherwise. If you play cards like Tin Can and Call of the Haunted will summon any monster. Okay? And it doesn't have to be just in the Banish Zone, and it doesn't have to be a level 5 or higher dark. It can summon any monster. Also, a Tin can be used with, there's like some level 1 support out there that's kind of decent. I mean, you can use 1-for-1 to summon him, but I don't really think it's that practical. But I'm just saying, there's level 1 support cards that are out there that are pretty decent. All right, so I think Tin Can is probably the most notable of them. Does this answer the question, is Kozmo good? I'll be honest, no. Kozmo's not that great, this coming format. I think they're a solid number 2 or number 3 deck post Breakers of Shadow, but that is with a very, very large asterisk, okay? The number 1 deck post Breakers of Shadow is without a doubt Performance and Pals, solely because of Performance Pal Pendulum Sorcerer, okay? Pendulum Sorcerer puts this deck so far over the edge. Have you seen the OG deck lists that have been coming out? Look at the screen. Look how many Performance and Pal decks are out there. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, the only other decks that are topping are decks that are literally engineered to absolutely exterminate this deck. This guy had to main anti-spell. Okay, it's either decks that are MM or decks that are built to absolutely kill MM. Okay, so it's not looking good for Kozmo because they might be number 2 and number 3, but the rift between them and MM is so far. I mean, you can't consider them good. The support that Performance Pals is getting, not only just from Pendulum Sorcerer, which is so nuts, but Keyboard, Twin Twister, Notice, along with Ariadne, Master Pendulum, Clash of Draco Rivals, Infinity. These are just some really nutty cards that they're getting. It's going to be so nuts. What can Kozmo do though that can make it good? Well, there's twofolds. I think Anti-Spell Fragrance and Reason. I think Reasoning is going to have to see a rise in play. The deck's really going to have to really need it in order to make it faster. But Anti-Spell Fragrance seems like the best option to make this deck be able to kill MM. But I don't think I don't think that constitutes Kozmo's prowess. Instead, it just shows that if you flip Anti-Spell against MM, it's tough for them to play. They don't straight up die like Magicians do. Like Magicians Magicians straight up die to anti-spell, but Performance and Palace can do other stuff, which is kind of disgusting. And they actually have like more outs to anti-spell than your conventional Pendulum deck. But by judging from the OCG, I don't think like these Burning Abyss decks that topped showed how good Burning Abyss was. I just thought it just means that they're the best deck that could abuse Floodgates that could beat Performance and Pal. That being said, there are going to be a lot of decks maining Anti-Spell Fragrance up this next upcoming format. Pretty much every deck that isn't Monarch or Performance and Pal. And there's not going to be decks that are going to be playing Rivalry Warlords and Gods Match. And actually, not only, obviously this is set up so they can kill MM because they have all of them are different types, different attributes. This guy's a fire spellcaster, this guy's a earth spellcaster, this guy's a earth beast. You know, these cards are pretty solid. These cards being in the meta are actually going to hurt Kozmo a lot. Because if you control the Kozmo Farm Girl, who's a light psychic, and Rivalry Warlords is online, you cannot legally activate Kozmo Farm Girl to banish her and summon a Dark Destroyer from the hand. Because you control a psychic and you're attempting to activate an effect that would summon a machine. You cannot activate Farm Girl. Same thing with the Gaza match. you control a light and you're trying to summon a dark. You cannot legally activate Farm Girl. These cards being in the meta are going to be a huge pain in the ass to Kozmo, and they'll really have to figure out how to play cards like Anti-Spell that can kill MM, but also have to deal with main decked Rivalry Warlords, Gosman matches that other decks can be playing. But like again, Cosmo is like kind of decent. It really it's a solid like number 2 or number 3, but the rift between them and MM is so large you can't be really considered good. And if there are going to be topping, it's going to be due to floodgates. Okay, that's not an example of the deck's prowess. It's an example of the deck's resilience to anti-spell. Is Cosmo a good investment? Right now, Cosmo Farm Girl is about 35. I remember when I was first looking around for Farm Girls after Clash Rebellion drops when I wanted to build the deck. I saw it with 35. I was like, yeah, it'll drop. It won't be that bad. And the next day it was $50. So like, oh crap. And that was fun. But with Cosmo Farm Girl is at a fair price right now. Cosmo Strongman is also at a fair price right now. Even though this card's a mandatory 3 of, Cosmo Dark Destroyer, who's at $100 right now, is not at a fair price. Okay, this deck being number 2 or number 3 deck, that's just ranking. In terms of the amount of meta or the amount of tops that Cosmo's going to take up is going to be so small compared to what MM's going to take. Dude, just build MM, okay? I know that this card is secret, and these two are allegedly secret by a reliable source, and so is this card. And you also have Infinity, who's secret. You have a ton of secrets, and so you also have Rafflesia. I know those are all secret, and this deck's not going to be that cheap because of that. But it's still going to be a lot better of an investment than Cosmo is, because that deck is undoubtedly, kind of like Necroz, the absolute best deck. The OCG has shown that, and anyone who's able to read some of these cards will be able to discern that as well. So no, I don't really think Cosmo is a good investment where it is now. If Dark Destroyer were to take half of the price it's at now, maybe, I don't know, but I think if you're looking for an anti-meta deck that you can kill MM with, Burning Abyss is going to be a better shot. However, that creates an interesting paradox in the fact that Burning Abyss is better against MM because it's resilient to more floodgates, Mistake, Gaza Match, Rivalry Warlords, Anti-Spell. They don't like these two, but they can handle them more so than Cosmo can really. Well, I mean, actually, not really, but still, like Anti-Spell, they can handle it much more than Cosmo for sure, and Mistake. But the interesting paradox is that Cosmo is fantastic against Burning Abyss. Okay, so you have this triangle going on here. You have MM at the top. Burning Abyss is probably the best anti-meta against MM just post Breakers of Shadow, but Cosmo isn't. But Cosmo beats Burning Abyss, so it's kind of interesting. Ignister Promise just being in the game, just as I've said before, just knocks Cosmo down. This deck makes this card so easily. Any Pendulum deck can make this card really, really easily. Honestly, it's not good. It's not looking good for Cosmo. I like the new support. I mean, it's good, but it's just so much. It's so shadowed by everything else that's coming out for the MM deck. MM's just gonna be wrecking everything, guys. If you didn't like Necroz, you won't like MM. You know what? I'm building this deck because it's the best deck. I mean, there's no other reason to put it except that. There's also going to be the Monarchs that are going to be coming out in towards the end of January. I actually don't know that much about the deck myself. All I know is that it's going to be dirt cheap. It's going to be played a lot, and it's been able to sort of hold its own in the OCG without maining a ton of floodgates. More so than other decks. I look at some of these Monarch decks in the OCG, and none of them main floodgates for the most part. But also cards like Erebus. Erebus is a non-targeting. I'll go ahead and actually pull him up. He's a non-targeting just beater. He's fantastic. Non-targeting shuffle. He's going to be able to deal with Cosmo pretty easily. This is another card that's kind of like Ignister, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, I don't shuffle, and I don't target, and I shuffle. So Cosmo's going to have another threat coming towards the end of Breakers of Shadow. Of course, that's just what I think. I don't know what you guys think about this deck. Obviously, I'm not hating on the deck. Okay, I don't think Cosmo sucks, but compared to what's going up against it, it's just not looking like a good investment once again. Even more so than last time. Just this new MM stuff is absolutely absurd, and you got the Monarchs also coming out. It's gonna be crazy. That'll do it from here, guys. Thank you very much for watching my discussions as always, again, the chief question of this is like, we know that MM is the best deck in this next format. What's the best non-MM deck? I think that's gonna be the chief question for this next format. If you guys have some time, I'd love for you to check out two other videos that are on your screen right now. On your left, you can be checking out my initial reaction to the new Kozmo cards that came out like the day that those cards were leaked, along with Pendulum Sorcerer. So hey, if you're still interested in this topic, check out the video over there. Or if you're done with like discussions or whatnot, check out a duel between Four-Rage Pendulum and Kozmo, and you kind of see a little more of kind of what I'm talking about in terms of that journal matchup. No, that's just for Four-Rage Pendulum. That's not MM. They're not the same thing. Like, they're close, but like MM is so far above. That's all from here, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that fun, jazzy type stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.